Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Go, Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, text number 6, right?
Yes.
We might go on to 7 too, let's see. Yaksha, Yasyakshana Viyogena Loko Yaviya Darshana Uktena Rahito Yesha Mrittaka Prokyate Yata Yasyakshana Viyogena Loko Yapriya Darshana Uktena Rahito Yesha Mritaka Prokyate Yata Yasyakshana Viyogena Loko Yapriya Darshana Uktena Rahito Yesha Mritaka Prokyate Yata Yasyakshana Viyogena Loko Yapriya Darshana Uktena Rahito Yesha Mritaka Prokyate Yata Yasyakshana Viyogena Loko Yapriya Darshana Uktena Rahito Yesha Mritaka Prokyate Yata Yasya whose Shana a moment Viyogena by separation Loka all the universes He certainly Apriya Darshana everything appears unfavorable Uktena by life Rahita being devoid of He certainly Esha all these bodies Mritaka dead bodies Prokyate are designated Yata as it were. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I have just lost him whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. It's pretty heavy. Like bodies without dead bodies. Purport. Factually, for a living being, there is no one dearer than the Lord. Powerful statement. Because so many people, there's so many family members all around the world, they're so close to their mother or father or wife or children. But here, factually, for a living being, there is no one dearer than the Lord. Because the Lord, He's always with us. But family members, they're here for a short time. Prabhupada gives the example just like the straw comes on the beach, and sometimes they come together, and then another wave comes, and they're separate. Just for a short time. Maybe they're relatives for, at most, 80 years. Actually, not even that. But they think, oh, it's such an important relationship, it's such a deep relationship, but it's just a moment. If you think about it, it's just a moment. If you think about our eternal relationship, Krishna's always with us. But these relationships we have here, just a moment. Just like imagine there's a string that's just going infinitely, long string, and on that string there's a knot. That's our life. It's just a little insignificant, teeny-weeny knot in our eternal, but we think, oh, all these relationships here are so significant, so important. No. Just temporary, illusory temporary. Sometimes, quite often, the first sentence in Prabhupada's purports are like so deep, just the first thing, like, wow. Factually, for a living being, there is no one dearer than the Lord. The Lord expands Himself by innumerable parts and parcels, as Sphangsa and Vivinangsa. Paramatma is the Sphangsa part of the Lord, whereas the Vivinangsa parts are the living beings. As the living being is the important factor in the material body, for without the living being, the material body has no value. Even someone might be have such a big position, prime minister of a country or president, big position, but as soon as the soul leaves the body, bury it. Or someone may be very beautiful, Miss Universe, very beautiful. But as soon as the soul leaves the body, no one's interested. Bury it, burn it. Especially imagine after 7 days, it starts to decompose. It's very attractive as long as the soul is in the body. Important position, respected, but as soon as the soul leaves the body, no importance. So, and the reason the soul is attractive is because it's part of Krishna. The most attractive. Similarly, Brahman, or Paramatma, has no locus standi without the Supreme Lord Krishna. This is thoroughly explained in Bhagavad Gita. They are all interlinked with one another, or interdependent factors. Thus, in the ultimate issue, the Lord is the summum bonum, and therefore the vital principle of everything. Om Jnanatamanandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Chakshram Malitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Mukram Kurtavachalang Bhangamang Haite Grimyat Kripataram Bande Shri Gurum Dinaranam Vanchakalpatubhyascha Kripasindubhye Vajam Patitanam Pavaniryo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhavanityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Siddhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this Brahman and Paramatma, this is an expansion of Krishna. And many people, they put importance in Brahman, the Brahman effulgence of Krishna. They think this is supreme, the Brahman effulgence. But actually it's insignificant compared to Krishna, the Supreme. Prabhupada gives the example, if you're, let's say you're in a desert, you're driving, and you see something in the distance. Could be a cloud, could be a mountain. Like I do a lot, I've driven a lot around America. And sometimes I'll be with a devotee, like, yeah, I can't tell. It could be a mountain, could be a cloud. You can't tell because it's so far away. But then as you get closer, you see, it's a mountain. It's definitely a mountain. So that's compared to Brahman. You know, it's kind of vague. Then you get closer, and then you see there's rivers and there's trees, and you get it. And so then that's Paramatma. Then you actually go on the mountain. Then you see the animals, and you see much more detail. So to be Krishna conscious means you see much more detail of the absolute truth. And it's very nice. Yeah. Krishna is very nice. He's Kautuki. Kautuki means got the best sense of humor. It's very funny. When we go back to the spiritual world, hopefully we get there sooner than later. There's a lot of laughing. Krishna's very funny. Kautukarnava means the source of all entertainment. So everybody likes to be entertained. Yeah. And the cowherd boys are entertaining Krishna. They're playing and wrestling with him and joking with him. Krishna, open your mouth. We're going to give you a sweet ball. Close your eyes. They put a flower in his mouth. Then Krishna makes him. So there's a lot of joking, a lot of playing. There's one instance where Krishna was with the gopis and he said, watch this, I'm going to play a joke. So Krishna, he's very good at disguising. So he disguised himself as Abhimanyu. And he went to Jatila, who was the mother of Abhimanyu, and said, Mata, Krishna's coming, disguised as me. He's coming to play a joke on you. I just want to let you know. She said, okay, I'll be ready for him. So Abhimanyu comes and she's got a broom, she's beating him. I know you're Krishna playing a trick on me, coming here. She's beating him. No, I'm Abhimanyu, I'm not Krishna. And Krishna's behind her with he's got his helmet and with his peacock behind. And the gopis are all laughing. So unlimited pastimes like this going on. Something to look forward to. Being with Krishna. Again, being with our Father. Again, our friend. You know, Arjuna, he was such a dear friend. Such a dear friend. He says, Krishna says, Saivaya maya teja yoga prokta pratana Bhakto sime sakachiti rahasyam yete uttamam. This very ancient science, or this very ancient relationship of the living entity with the Supreme is today being told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and therefore you're able to understand the mystery of this science. So they're very close. You know. Krishna became the charioteer, became the charioteer of Arjuna. It's like an Uber, like a taxi driver. You know, to be a charioteer is like that's like the Sudra, you know, to be a charioteer. But Krishna, for his devotee, he took that position. Yeah. So Krishna is he's very kind, very magnanimous. Prabhupada says in one purport that Krishna, he's never inattentive in how to deliver the living entities from this darkness, from this dark material world. Yeah. He's so kind that he comes himself. He doesn't have to. We made the mistake. We chose to be separate from him. He could just say, "Oh yeah, good luck." Yeah. But no, he knows this material world, it's a place of suffering. Dukkhalayam sasvatam. And therefore he comes out of his kindness to help us. He speaks the Bhagavad Gita, such divine words of wisdom to help us understand who we are. There's this nice young man coming to the temple. He's been to the temple about 6 or 7 times. He got a book from me, and he's chanting now. He's got beads, he's chanting. But it's difficult for him to understand that we're actually the soul within. that we're the soul. That when the body dies, we're going to continue somehow in our spiritual existence. It's difficult to understand. Even Professor Kutaski in Russia, he's a big professor. He knew the Puranas, the Vedas. You know, he was a scholar of Hinduism. Swamiji, when the body dies, that's it. Prabhupada was shocked. And here's someone who has so much information, so much knowledge in the Vedas, but dull, couldn't understand. Prabhupada was, many times he would mention this in his classes. I hear a big professor couldn't understand a simple thing. You go to India, and even the 6-year-old child knows the soul within. They know about reincarnation. It's amazing, you know. Right from the time they're young, they know that we're the soul within. The body dies, we continue. That's the glory of India. Even still, although it's become very degraded because of the Western influence and because of the Kali Yuga influence, still people have that understanding. But Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Charivat Pashyati Kasyadena, that some look on the soul as amazing. Some describe the soul as amazing. Some hear of him as amazing. And some, even after hearing about him, can't understand him at all. So just to understand the soul, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. We could understand, just like we could see this table, we could see a computer, or we can see, we could see things like, it's easier to understand things that we could see. But you can't see something. Just like time. We can't see time. It's such a difficult thing to understand. Thoughts also. We can't see thoughts. There's so many thoughts. Throughout the day, there's thousands of thoughts. to understand, or the mind also. There's the brain, which is a muscle, but then there's the mind. It's more subtle. Yeah. So here, Arjuna, he's lamenting that he's lost his Lord. Yeah. But actually, this is called vipalamba. He's experiencing separation. He's not separated from Krishna. He's absorbed in Krishna. Vipalamba can even be more intense in one's association with Krishna than to actually be with Krishna. So he's very intensely feeling the presence of Krishna. But he's saying, I've lost my Lord, Krishna. A lot of people lose things, and it causes lamentation. Just like people lose money. It's a big cause of anxiety. Just like in 1929, we had the great crash. It became the Great Depression for 10 years. The stock market crashed in 1929. Millionaires became paupers. Some, they just lost everything. Yeah. If we don't, people put so much faith in the stock market, but it's gambling, isn't it? It's gambling. And sometimes you lose everything. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but in Australia, I had a friend who had a brother that worked at one of these casinos. And so quite often at the casinos, it's like also in Las Vegas, they have these casinos, but they have hotels right there. So you don't have to get in the car. You just come right down and go right to it. So they have these big hotels with casinos downstairs. And sometimes they lose everything, and they jump out the window. Yeah, money is like honey. You lose all your honey, you lose all that money. It's like devastating. Gambling is one of the biggest addictions in the material world. Yeah, people. I had a friend also. His mother used to gamble so much. And eventually the father divorced her because he couldn't stop. So people lose money. It's a great cause of anxiety. People lose relationships. One devotee was on book distribution, and she was talking to one lady, and she said, I'm going to the pharmacy to get pills. I'm going to kill myself. She said, well, why do you want to do that? She said, my husband died. I can't live without him. And she said, oh, you don't want to do that. So she was preaching to her. And then the devotee was very nice, and the lady invited her to her home, which was not very far away. And she talked her out of committing suicide. And they were there talking, and she was showing pictures, and then she saw a picture of the temple there, and she was visiting one of the temples there in Europe. She said, I've been there before, yeah. And there was a marriage going on. That's my friend's getting married there. So they had a nice exchange. But yeah, you lose a loved one. Very painful. The material world is like that. You become attached and you lose things. It's heart-rending. Yeah. Even it can be suicidal. So, therefore Krishna comes, and he comes to help us, because many traumatic things can happen, but if we're Krishna conscious, then no matter what happens, we can deal with it. There's one story Prabhupada tells of a secretary of one king who was very Krishna conscious. And whatever would happen, he would say, "Oh, Krishna's mercy." Whatever would happen. He was so Krishna conscious. So one time the king, he was sharpening his arrow, kshatriya. So he cut his thumb. He cut a good portion of his thumb off. And the secretary said, "Oh, Krishna's mercy." And the king thought, this guy's nuts. And he told those guards, grab this guy, put him in jail, see if that's Krishna's mercy. And what did the secretary say? Oh, Krishna's mercy. And the king thought, man, this guy's, he's really a Lulu, yeah. So then some time went by and he was going to go hunting. But generally he would go hunting with a secretary, but he thought, I'll just go by myself. So he's out hunting and he gets caught by some dacoits. And they're taking him to make a human sacrifice. And they're thinking, oh, who's the goddess? Not Durga? They do human sacrifices to Durga? Durga, Kali. Also Chanda? Chandi, yeah. So they thought, oh, we got a king, boy, we're going to get some good remittances. We're going to get something good from this. Yeah. So they got him all tied up, getting ready to make a human sacrifice, and one of them noticed he's got a missing thumb. We can't offer him. He's imperfect. We can't. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. They untied him. Yeah, let him get him out of here. Yeah. Kicked him out, get out of here. So he was very happy. He was running through the forest. It was Krishna's mercy. It was Krishna's mercy. It was Krishna's mercy. He's running. He gets to his kingdom, and he goes right to where his secretary's in jail. And he said, "You're right. It was Krishna's mercy. I cut my thumb. The dacoits were going to make a human sacrifice to Goddess Durga, and they noticed I didn't have some of my thumb. It was Krishna's mercy. You're right. Boy, you're a good secretary." But then he said, "But how is it Krishna's mercy that you're in jail? How can that be?" And the secretary said, "I have my thumbs." He would have been the sacrifice. So the king said, "Wow, you're a good secretary to have around." So he became very Krishna conscious from that association with this secretary. So yeah, a devotee feels everything is Krishna's mercy. Sometimes it's hard to see that everything is Krishna's mercy. Just like Draupadi, she was being disrobed. How is that Krishna's mercy? Yeah, these powerful kshatriyas. She couldn't protect herself, nor could her husbands. Very awkward situation. So what did she do? She took shelter of Govinda. Hey, Govinda. So in one sense, I mean, it's a terrible thing for someone to, especially Draupadi, she's a pure devotee. It's bad that he did that, but there was a good result. So in one sense, it was good, because now she's famous. Calling out to Krishna when someone's trying to disrobe her. She calls out to Govinda. And quite often you hear devotees on book distribution, they're having a tough time. Govinda! Govinda! Help, Govinda! So, in Queen Kunti, Vipida santata sasva tatra tatra jagatguru bhavato darsanyam yatat apuna bhavana. She prays. She prays for difficulty. Yeah. Amazing. She prays for bad things to happen so that she can take shelter of Krishna. So, and also Vidura. Vidura was kicked out of his palace. Now, that's terrible. Yeah. And it is terrible. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of someone who kicks out a pure devotee from his own home. And it's bad news. But what was the result? He just went on traveling to holy places all over India. So it turned out it was good. He got away from that what a horrible political scene. I mean, my God, he had to deal with Duryodhana. When Duryodhana was born, what did Vidura tell Dhritarashtra? Kill him. Kill him. Because there were so many bad omens. There was, what was it? There was, anybody remember? Donkey's brain. And yeah, just darkness and just horrible omens. Kill him. You can't kill your son, But what was the result of his remaining alive? The whole family, all his brothers died because of him. So it was bad. So many bad things he did. But the result was, Queen Kunti, she was taking shelter of Krishna. The Pandavas, they were taking shelter of Krishna. Everybody was taking shelter of Krishna. So there was a good result. And Vidura, another good result. He just went traveling around, preaching. Such a great preacher. Yamaraj. They kicked Yamaraj out of his own home. But that was okay. So a devotee feels, whatever happens, it's Krishna's mercy. But to be in that consciousness, one has to be very advanced. So we have to take shelter of Krishna. Constantly taking shelter of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Krishna's come in this way, the holy name, so that we could take shelter of Krishna in any circumstance. There's one instance of a lady. She had joined the movement, and she was a book distributor, and she was doing nicely, but for whatever reason she went through some spiritual difficulty. And actually, Prabhupada said the reason people leave, 50% it's our fault, 50% is their fault. Because sometimes devotees can be, of course, you have Vaiseshika Prabhu, so everybody has high consciousness and knows how to deal nicely with the devotees. But sometimes devotees can deal with other devotees in a very crude way, and it can be disturbing. Just like there's one devotee, he wrote a letter to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I can't tolerate this devotee. They have me doing service with this devotee, but I can't tolerate him. I can't. And he's just so difficult to be around. And Prabhupada wrote back, he said, no, you should tolerate him. Your service to Krishna is to tolerate him, just as I tolerate you. So sometimes it's difficult to live amongst devotees. But worse than that is to live amongst the non-devotees. Because there's no Krishna there. So this lady, she had some difficulty for whatever reason. Maybe it was part of her and part of others' reason. So she left, and she went and she married some non-devotee. She never told him that she was a Hare Krishna. And they're driving down the street, on the highway, and they get in an accident. And the car is just rolling. And she starts screaming, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, just screaming, Hare, and the car is rolling, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then the car stops. And she says, are we alive? And he said, I think so. Are we in the other world now, maybe? And no, I think we're still in this world. The car is still here. So he said to her, "What was that you were screaming? What was that?" And she said, "Oh, I never told you. I used to be a Hare Krishna." And he just saved our life. And he's like, "Oh, really? Well, tell me more." So they're sitting in this completely crashed car. And she starts telling him about Krishna. And for weeks on end, she's telling him about Krishna. And eventually he became a devotee. So one might think, oh, a terrible crash, what a horrible thing. But no, because of this terrible crash, I mean, a crash is a bad thing, But because of her taking shelter of Krishna, and then him hearing about Krishna, he became a devotee. And she also became a devotee again, and she became a book distributor again. So it's amazing. Huh? So many reversals turn into good things. So Arjuna, he's lamenting here, but this is increasing his devotion, this vipralamba. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Do they have this saying in India also? They have that saying, no? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah. It's a very common saying. Like you leave your loved ones. Or even sometimes you might have a friend and you have some, you have a little disagreement, and you separate, and your friendship isn't what it used to be. But then with time, they have the saying, time heals. Time heals. So absence makes the heart grow fonder. So, and here we're seeing also, Arjuna, his devotion for Krishna increases more and more, and Yudhisthira also. Yeah. So, it's a way to grow spiritually, is to have this separation. And in Vrindavan, the gopis, they're feeling so much separation, but they're absorbed. They're absorbed in Krishna. And there's one pastime where Rukmini was with Krishna, and she was crying. She's crying. And Krishna said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "Well, I'm with you now, but there'll be some time that you're not going to be with me. So I'm lamenting for that time that you may not be with me." Because it happens. People are together for some time, then, So, already feeling lamentation, even when Krishna's right there. So, maybe we'll stop there. Is there any question or comment? Yes.
Thank you for the class too. We hear so many stories that devotees are always yearning for Krishna. I mean, that is the highest mood of serving Krishna in separation. But how do we understand this? That misery is the success of spiritual life. I mean, the topmost devotees are suffering. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, six Goswamis, and the gopis, they are always lamenting. I mean, how can we...
It's inconceivable.
Yeah, that's...
Because we're chanting. Actually, Prabhupada said our mood should be, when we're chanting Hare Krishna, "Krishna, please accept me again. Please accept me again as your servant." And we want to go back to Godhead. We want to be with Krishna again. So it's inconceivable. Yeah. Vipralamba, ras. because we're not on that level. Right now our love for Krishna is dormant, right? So it's inconceivable that can be an even higher ras, because we don't have that love for Krishna yet. But once we have that love for Krishna, to be separated from him is even more intense, because they want to be with Krishna. They want to be with Krishna, but Krishna's not here. So it increases the love inconceivably. Yeah. Maybe we'll be able to understand once that love for Krishna is reawoken. But yeah, it's kind of inconceivable. Achintya. Another achintya. Things that we don't understand. Like the soul, also, it's inconceivable. Krishna is inconceivable. But we just, from understanding, from hearing, we understand that it's a deeper ras. It's vipralamba. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I'm having a problem trying to understand the difference between transcendental emotions and material emotions. Like, how do you distinguish as a conditioned soul whether I should reject an emotion? Because we're trying to control the mind and purify it. So obviously a lot of times our mind may feel a certain way. How do we distinguish whether something is like a warranted emotion versus something?
Transcendental emotion and material emotion?
Yeah, it seems like souls have emotions.
Yeah. Well, the emotions that devotees have for Krishna and other devotees is on the spiritual platform. Whereas the emotions that we have for instance, family, just like I have 6 brothers and sisters. And there is some emotion there, but why is the emotion there? Because we all came out of the same womb. Basically, that's it. Yeah. Other than that, we don't have any. We don't have many things in common. Especially now, since I became a devotee, an aspiring devotee. So, yeah, emotion is there on the bodily conception of life. Therefore, it's ephemeral. It's temporary, and it's not near as deep. When we become a pure devotee, our emotions, our devotion for Krishna will be on such a high level. Such a high level, it's inconceivable. And therefore, it's described that one's devotion for Krishna, it increases unlimitedly. Just like we're trying to please Krishna. When we become pure devotees, we're always trying to please Krishna. And Krishna sees that devotion, and Krishna, he's trying to please his devotee. And Krishna sees, or the devotee sees Krishna, act in such a wonderful way. He wants to please Krishna more. And it's just going unlimitedly. There's no limit to the transcendental emotion that a devotee has for Krishna. But here in this world, it's very limited. Even sometimes, quite often actually, husbands and wives, they break up. There's emotion there, and it's sweet emotion. The honeymoon and everything, and they may be together for years. And then she might be attracted to another man, or he might be attracted to another woman. And then it's over, finished. The emotion is over, divorce. And in family members too, brothers, sisters sometimes. And they have some disagreement. Prabhupada tells of one instance where 2 brothers, they were fighting. It's a very common thing, right? Did you have brothers? Yes. We would fight, sometimes. I had a little brother. I had a big brother too, so I was abused, and I was the abuser. Yeah, but in a nice way, never in a malicious way. Brothers would fight. So Prabhupada said these two brothers are fighting, but it got a little serious. And they started physically fighting, and it got so intense that one killed the other. Killed the other brother. Prabhupada tells us this. And then the one that killed the other, he went to court, and the judge gave him life imprisonment. No, actually, no, he gave him the death penalty because he killed his brother. And the father came to the judge, "Judge, please, one of my sons is dead. This is my only one. Please let him live." So the judge was a little considering the awkward situation of the father, said, "All right, life imprisonment. So at least he could live." But yeah, emotions on the material platform, very flickering. Yeah. But on the spiritual platform, always increasing. Of course, now one might ask, well, we were with Krishna. The emotions were very high. Why? Why did we come here? Prabhupada said, causeless envy. We wanted to have that position of Krishna. So here we are, trying to have that position of Krishna, trying to be God, be the enjoyer, be the proprietor. But it's said that once we go back to Krishna, we never come back to this material world again. The devotee asked Prabhupada, will we remember our life in this material world when we go back to the spiritual world? Prabhupada said, yes. You'll remember it like a nightmare. A nightmare. Amazing, huh? We'll never want to come back here again. It's never happened, actually. Because it is. Compared to the life in the spiritual world, this is a nightmare.
So do all emotions, whether they're material or spiritual, come from the soul? Or is it from the mind? Material emotions, do they come from the mind?
Well, from both.
From both.
Yeah. Just like we were discussing this about some people, they become very disturbed because they lose money or they lose a family relationship, or sometimes also people lose their mind. That happens quite often too. People taking a lot of drugs. We've seen them on Sankirtan, right? People just, they're walking by, just lose their mind. Too many drugs. Or maybe some other reason also. People lose their mind. There's one joke that I let my mind wander and it never came back. So. Okay. Anything else?
I just had one last question. I just was hearing how Prabhupada says that people that are conditioned, they think they're happy, but the soul is crying inside.
Yeah.
How do you see that? Because there seems to be a lot of people that are...
Yeah, Radhanath Swami, he was giving a class, and he said, there's people that go to the discotheques. And discotheque, you know what a discotheque is? That's where it's like a, what do you call it? It's like a dance hall.
Oh, disco.
Disco. Yeah, they go there and they drink and dance, and it appears like they're happy, but the soul is crying. Nobody's happy there. The soul is crying. Yeah. But you go to the kirtan, and they're also dancing. They're singing. They're dancing. But the soul is joyful. The soul is joyful. It's happy because we're singing and we're dancing for Krishna. If we're doing things for our material sense gratification, then ultimately we will be dissatisfied. Therefore it's said, yehi samsparsaja bhoga. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with material senses. Such pleasures have a beginning and an end, so a wise person does not take delight in them. So if we use our intelligence, we won't waste our time in trying to develop some material relationship. Because it'll be nice in the beginning. It always is. It's nice in the beginning. But then eventually it becomes bitter, poison, yeah. So better try to establish a relationship with Krishna. With Krishna, it just gets better and better and better. Yeah. As they say in Spanish, mejor. Gets better. Always better.
So are people just saying that, but in their heart they don't feel happy? And people that...
Yeah. I mean, they don't know what happiness is. Prabhupada said the material world is just, it's a place of suffering. If you compared what they apparently experience as happiness, and you compare that to the happiness of love for Krishna, there's no comparison. It's suffering. It's just happiness on the material platform. You know, like the dogs. You know, they're also, you know, they're having some sex also. There's some apparent, but it's just animal pleasure. Yeah.
Because people sometimes they say they're happy, but how do you make them realize they're not? Is it just take them time to realize? Or
Well, it's Maya Sukhaya. It's illusory happiness. So it's hard for them to understand that there's real happiness and there's illusory happiness. So yeah, so it takes some time. Takes some preaching to help them understand that it's not real happiness. Like I said, if you compare those two, the happiness of the pure soul in service to Krishna and happiness of the impure soul, service to Maya, it's like iron and gold. Big difference, huge difference. They're both metals, iron and gold, but gold is so much more attractive. Iron.
So could you say, I think maybe Prabhupada said this before, but like the material world's kind of like a desert where you're trying to find a little drop of water.
Yeah.
And the material, spiritual world is like an ocean where you're just drowning in happiness.
Yeah. So that they're thinking that little drop of water, that's happiness.
That's all there is.
Just a little drop. Yeah. Compared to an ocean of happiness. Yeah.
We have 3 devotees online. If we can ask if there is
Anybody have a question online? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Grace Vijaya Prabhu ki jai. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna.